Joining us now from the Loyola University Maryland Selinger School of Business is Karyl Leggio, professor of finance, and our topic is millennials in the workplace. Professor, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Who are these millennials? What's your definition?
Well, a millennial tends to be an 18 to 35-year-old, so they were born the early 80s through about 2000. Entering the workforce in large numbers right now, and by 2020, they'll represent 50% of the workforce.
Now, I've heard them referred to as the Peter Pan generation.
Yeah.
Why? What is that?
Peter Pan, boomerang, the trophy generation. Peter Pan because they don't want to grow up. The boomerang because they leave home for school, but they come back home. Trophy generation because they were the generation that received a trophy just to show up to play soccer. You didn't have to win.
So they have very high self-esteem.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, most definitely.
So are they different from previous generations of young people going into the workplace?
Yeah, they really are. They're very family-centered. We talk about helicopter parents. They have been loved and coddled by parents for a long time. As they have grown up, they tend to be, depending on who you're asking, more narcissistic, more self-centered, more higher expectations. They've always succeeded. And so what their expectations are is that if you're going to put them in a job, they're probably ready for your job by a week or two from now. So they have high expectations. But they're also very open to change. They're altruistic. They tend to be very good at accepting differences. And those are all skill sets that are going to be really important as our industries continue to evolve and merge and converge. So they are a group that will be beneficial to the workforce as time goes on, but understand that they work differently than previous generations.
Have they perhaps gotten a bad rap in the workplace for some of the immature part of the behaviors that you described?
I believe so. As I said, they like a particular type of work environment. They're not willing to do what the baby boomers were, which was work 70, 80 hours a week. They want a 40-hour work week, preferably with a flexible schedule. They want to be able to have a say in what's happening and doing meaningful work, and they want to work for companies that focus on corporate social responsibility and are engaged in the community, engaged in doing good.
So an inflexible organization is going to look at that 20-something who is asking for all of these things and say, next? But should they? I mean, is there a benefit to having more millennials in your workplace?
The companies that are going to succeed going forward are going to adapt to the millennials because they are our workforce, 50% of the employees in a very short time period. So companies need to know that this generation really wants mentoring. They want constant feedback because they've always received that. They want to be engaged, and if they're not, they're going to leave the company. And so they get the rap that they job hop. Well, their expectations are that they've succeeded in this and they're ready for the next job. So companies have the obligation, if they want to maintain their corporate culture by keeping these individuals in the workforce, they have an obligation to help these individuals feel and feel like they're contributing to the overall good of the organization. They're doing meaningful work.
So if they're used to changing jobs frequently every couple of years, that might be great for building experience, might be good for somebody's career, but in terms of the employer, that means they've got to go through the trouble, the expense of replacing that person in a couple of years.
Yes, they do. So you either figure out a way to retain, so give them meaningful work. I've seen companies that will do things like you're working in accounting, and so you're doing audit for the organization. But they work really well in teams. They also will put 4 or 5 of them together working on a special project for the company. Help us understand social media, how we retain women in the workforce. Give them other projects that they see value add and that they feel like they're contributing, and then have them present to a level of senior management. And those are the kinds of things that companies will benefit from, putting the effort into retaining these individuals by giving them things that add value to these millennials, plus add value to the company.
And when it comes to social media, I mean, the millennials are native speakers of that language. They've never known anything else. They've never known a world where there weren't computers.
Exactly. They're digital natives, and they are very well networked, friends, family, and that can be a benefit for the company to see how others, potential customers, are thinking about the organization. Millennials can help them with that.
How do they interact with prior generations in a workforce with a wide variety of ages? Is there a little tension there? Has that always been the case?
Yeah, this is the first time ever that we have 5 generations in the workforce. And if you think about it, people now, there was a survey that came out recently that those that are 4 and 5 years old, 10% of them will live to be 100, is what they're estimating. Well, you're not going to retire at 65 and have 35 years of retirement, because that's a long time, plus do you have the financial resources to be retired for 35 years? So people aren't leaving the workforce as rapidly, therefore we have these 5 generations. And so the traditionalists were those that if we're going to get something done, we need to meet in person. And then the baby boomers were okay with doing things over the phone. Gen X was okay with sending emails. These millennials don't like email. They text, and they don't really need to be sitting in the office in order to text. So it is very different. And then we've got the Gen 2020 that we're not really sure what they're going to be doing yet, because they're just starting to enter the workforce. But it is very different, and companies have to think about how you keep from a generational estrangement. You have to figure out how to bring these guys together and have some of the older generation service mentors, have the millennials help with older generations learning how to use social media in new and different ways. So, but it's an effort on the part of companies to make sure that you are benefiting from the resource of having multi-generational organizations.
So there's new energy, there's a new skill set. If you were to give advice to a group of millennials, which you do in the classroom, how could they better fit in, better make use of their abilities in traditional organizations?
It's excellent, and that's part of a university education now, is to understand the work environment you're moving into is different. So you need to get up out of your desk and go walk to another office and have a conversation. You need to understand that the kind of feedback you've gotten your entire life is not ordinary. Most companies provide you feedback once a year. So get used to the fact that you can value yourself and understand that you did a good job, even if somebody's not going to sit down and tell you at that moment that you did. So shift your expectations in order to be successful in the workforce.
Professor Karyl Leggio from Loyola University, Maryland, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.